All right. Well, I'm Anthony,
I'm Brandon.
and this is Everything That's Real. Wait, hold on. Do it again. Everything that's weird, real. That's bizarre. All right, I'll cut that out. Don't worry about it. Welcome to the podcast that explores mysterious disappearances, bizarre worldly occurrences, strange phenomenon, and basically everything that's weird. Welcome to the podcast, Everything That's Weird. We are your hosts, Brandon and Anthony, and tonight we're talking about the Squatch.
Mr. Big Feet.
So this is something I came across. So this story actually came out in like 2012.
Yeah, I didn't even hear it.
I didn't hear about it in 2012, but I did hear about this a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it was actually super interesting.
Yeah, right? Fuck alien bodies.
Right?
Let's talk about something on our planet.
So I actually believe in Bigfoot. I know you're going to say surprise, surprise, but here's the thing. Maybe it's just something we don't know about.
It's possible. It's possible.
So I went to the zoo when I was young, and we had the golden monkeys. Do you remember them?
Mm-hmm.
They have blue faces and gold fur.
Yeah.
And they were routinely mistaken for abominable snowmen.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I do believe in Bigfoot. Not necessarily that, it's like a 7-foot tall creature that just is the hide and seek champion, which are great t-shirts, by the way.
I own one.
Do you really?
Don't want to brag or nothing.
But I think I'm a big believer in cryptid or cryptozoology.
Right.
And there's a lot of things, and I'll probably get more into this in the second half, but there's a lot of things we don't know about on our planet.
Yeah.
Just because our planet's giant. Yeah. And it's
we'll
hard
get to all that. That's
right. It's hard to get to places. So this story, though, this particular story has to do with the eruption of Mt St. Helens.
This story's bananas.
I think it is, right?
It's crazy.
So on May 18th, 1980, kind of out of the blue, Mt St. Helens started to erupt. And it did
had an earthquake.
So.
A 5.1 earthquake knocked like half that mountain came down, like off the top of it first. And it was like, they said like the amount of, like they always use the standard of measurements where it's like the universe, the galaxy, Texas, and Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Right.
That you could fill up like 100 million Olympic-sized swimming pools with the debris that came down in the landslide.
It's the largest landslide in North America ever recorded.
Like, as far as I know, it's the largest one ever recorded.
Okay. I thought it was North America, but
no, I think it's the entire history of the planet that's recorded.
So there was a photographer that was he was shooting Mt. St. Helens just by chance.
Right.
And they had said that there was this earthquake, and he actually captured the bulge of the mountain. And that is bananas.
Yeah, that's
crazy. That is
crazy.
nuts. When you know how much land that is.
Yeah. He's got like a whole photo sequence. Like when you see, it's not footage that you see when you see Mount Helens. That's his photo progression.
So you can actually see this bulge. So, okay, real quick. It's covered in snow and ice.
Mm-hmm.
So it has this earthquake, and is it on a tectonic plate, or does it just
yeah.
Okay, it is. Okay, so the lava comes up, and it causes the side of this volcanic mountain to like bulge out.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is crazy. There was somebody that lived on the other side of it that didn't hear it because the way that it projected out.
Yeah, it was out the side of it. Yeah.
Right. So they didn't hear it because they were behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts because it was heard in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And she lived less than a mile away from it and didn't hear it.
Right.
Because of the projection. But anyway, it instantly turns all this ice and snow into water.
Mm-hmm.
And vapor and mud and dirt and creates this crazy pyroclastic
Yep.
Flow that destroys everything.
Yeah,
right?
that stuff's wicked, man.
Yeah, and so it fills all the rivers. It creates a lake at the top of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
There's a giant crater.
It's got a glacier there now.
Well, it does now, right? It's redeveloped.
It created a glacier, and it's like the fastest growing glacier ever. I don't know. We might get shut down for saying glaciers grow, but
global warming my ass.
No, but it's something about how it developed that bowl and stuff.
And that's it for us, ladies.
Yeah, now we are canceled.
But it was this, and I honestly, I don't remember it. I was 4 when this happened.
I feel like,
but I do remember
No,
but I do remember the aftermath. I do remember being very young, watching news stories.
Mm-hmm.
I think our generation, when we were like this age, it was a pretty serious news topic.
Yeah, because this is a historic event. I mean, you were just talking about, that plume went 80,000 feet in the air, man.
Yeah, and like 51 people died.
Yeah.
And then the ash went as far south as like Los Angeles. Like people in Los Angeles had ash from the volcano on their cars and on, their windowsills and things like that.
Yeah. It was like $1 billion in damage. It's like 3.5 billion today.
So when they kind of knew it was active, there were a bunch of seismologists that went up on the mountain. A lot of them are part of the body count.
Mm-hmm.
They sort of went down with the mountain. And then there's this one, just like we said, there's this one photographer. He sort of risked his life to get these images. And there were also people that refused to leave after they kind of knew this was going to happen. They knew once the earthquake happened, they knew this thing was going to blow.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody I think it was a 20-mile radius that they put on it. And they're like, just get the hell out, right?
Right.
And there's some people that refuse to leave. And I think one guy's name was Harry Truman.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Not the president, Harry Truman.
Right.
His name just happened to be Harry Truman.
Yeah, he's a World War I veteran.
Of course. So he's like, I'm staying. This is my mountain. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I understand that a little bit.
He's an innkeeper. Makes him even gruffer. Like he's just wiping a mug. Like, right. Not going anywhere.
This is my inn. But it's devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to this area, it's devastating. It levels trees. It sends this massive flow of like mud, water, lava, gas, down the mountain, wipes out everything in sight.
If you can see, there was a weather satellite that actually caught an image of the cloud.
Oh, that's cool.
From above head, and it's intense. They put an overlay map on it and show you the counties and stuff. And it's just like it's taken up like 4 counties and stuff. It's kind of crazy.
That seems like that's intense.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It lost like 1,600 feet of height. Like the mountain was like dropped like a lot. So
that isn't. I mean, like that's crazy for a mountain.
Yeah.
And if you look at it before, and you look at it after,
it's totally different.
Yeah, it's a completely different landscape. Well, there's like a giant part of the side that's gone because it actually blew out from the side. Yeah,
it's like a big bowl with one side missing its rim.
So where this story starts is right after that story ends.
Mm-hmm.
Mount St. Helen
gets weird.
Blows up, and there is a guy that is part of the National Guard. He remains. His identity is kept secret.
Yes.
Which I hate that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he talks of a story where this happened. Mm-hmm. It is a nuclear war zone, basically. Everything's destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And the National Guard is called in.
And the Corps of Engineers, actually.
The Army Corp of Engineers, right?
Yeah, that was their operation.
But they're sort of briefed right before they go up there. And they're told that whatever you see when we go up there, you're not to say anything.
Yeah. You didn't see it.
You didn't see it. So they get up there, and he's like, they were tasked with dealing with dead animals, people, whatever.
Yeah, they were moving lots of dead animals and stuff like that. There was a lot of cleanup.
And while they're doing this, he is put in charge of guarding a special pile of animal bodies that are tarped off. Mm-hmm. And he is he has a gun. Mm-hmm. He's given like a rifle, right?
Well, those guys there was 4 National Guardsmen according to him. And when they went to a camp first, they had this base camp set up. And a truck pulls up. The truck pulls up. It's got a commanding officer and a civilian in the truck. He sees them pull up to a tent, get out, go in this tent, and come back out with a live Bigfoot.
And the Bigfoot's real. He's like down, right?
Yeah, he's just like chilling. He's like talking to the dude, and the dude's talking back to him, but it's not human language.
First of all, sidebar, it would be awesome if the Bigfoot spoke Spanish.
Right.
Right.
Like, what do you like? They just went through. Do you got French? No, Spanish. Yeah, I got Spanish.
Zapatos grande. I wear big shoes. But no, honestly, this report says that this guy comes out of a tent, literally talking to a Bigfoot that's depressed.
Yes.
He literally says he's like down.
Yeah, like he doesn't look like he's very happy. He's very sad.
So him and this Bigfoot, the back of a pickup truck.
Correct.
And then they go driving to different cave systems on Mount St. Helens.
Yeah, and the Bigfoot would get out at those sites, and he would make these calls, and he would listen, and
he'd be more depressed.
Yes, because he wouldn't hear anything return his call, and they'd get on and drive to another location.
I hate it. I mean, an emo Bigfoot's terrible, but like a heart.
You think of Harry and Henderson's immediately, don't you?
Right.
He's like fiddling his thumbs and. Oh my God, I feel bad now.
I feel horrible for this story.
Bigfoot friends are all dead.
So, was this the one that was critically wounded?
They did find.
Okay.
They got something to answer, and some came out in various different stages. Some were,
but they were burned, right? Yeah. Like critically.
Yeah, some of them died. Some of them were already dead when they got there,
and some of them were put down. Mm-hmm. Some of them were actually put down.
Yeah, they actually, when they found one, and it was so badly injured that when he brought it out of the cave, that he looked at it, he like talked over it for a little bit, and then went and talked to that guy again, and then one of the officers came up and shot it and put it out of its misery.
I don't know what the Bigfoot word for euthanasia is.
Yeah.
But that's terrible.
I don't know if he looked up, gave him a little slice across the throat gesture.
But he did. This National Guardsman apparently puts him out of his misery. That's what happens.
At this time, that National Guard's mind had to be getting like blowing off his head.
So then that Vietnam chopper with the 2 blades then takes this Bigfoot, right? And then all these other bodies of Bigfoots.
Yeah.
And they essentially rescue them from mountaintop and take them away. Gone.
Yeah.
Right? And then this witness to this is then sort of debriefed.
Yeah, completely different from the way they were first initially talked to. Like, when they first talked to him, they were doing this whole, like...
Top secret.
Yeah, don't say anything, don't, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end of it, they were... I don't know if yeah.
He actually says something to the effect of, don't question what you've seen. You've seen, you know what that was.
Yeah.
And if you didn't believe in it before, they're real. They just want to be left alone.
Right.
And all they've ever done is look out for us as people. And it might seem like a big deal now, but wait for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it won't be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. He said it like you saw what happened today.
Right. You know what that was.
You know how tragic that was. You know what that was.
It was a goddamn Bigfoot that lost his buddies.
You guys want to say something, fine, but you shouldn't.
And this guy didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For 31 years. 12. He tells a story on Reddit, which I don't understand.
It was he actually sent an email to there's a it's called I think it's a Bigfoot I wish I could remember the name of it. It's a website that Bigfoot Facts, I think it's called.
Okay.
And they received this email because it was on their page that he was like, people are incorrect about what they're saying. Here, let me tell you the story of my experience. And he told that whole story.
All right. So that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Mount St. Helens explodes. It's chaos.
Many, all the wildlife, all the trees, all the plants, everything's just completely wiped out within like miles of that volcano.
But there are dead bodies. There's carcasses. There's all kinds of stuff left.
Mm-hmm.
The National Guard and the Army Corps of Engineers goes in, and when they go in, this guy is witness to a Bigfoot kind of going on a search and rescue in cahoots with the government to find
some
other
agency
Bigfoots.
is aware of them enough to be able to communicate with them.
Right. And they go looking for other Bigfoots. They find other Bigfoots. Right? He's all depressed.
Yeah.
They shoot some of the Bigfoots because they're like, right? Because they're critically wounded. They then take them and rescue them from mountaintop on a or on a Vietnam. What do they call this? The double propeller helicopters.
Yeah.
And this guy, 30 years later, is like, yeah, that happened. Like Bigfoots are real. Squatch is a real thing. And
right.
And saw him on Mount St. Helens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's at. That's the story. Mm-hmm. Which is bananas. It's a banana story. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It is a crazy story.
But let's come back. Let's talk about some facts.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, why this is not maybe so crazy.
Okay.
All right. When people ask you, what do you do for a living? Do you want to be able to tell them I'm a producer? Well, now you can. Go to patreon.com, search everything that's weird, and sign up. We'll list you in all the show notes and mention you in every episode. Go to patreon.com to get started today. Okay, so I've never been to Washington.
Yeah.
I've been to Oregon.
Neither for me.
Okay, and I've been to Northern California. I can say this about that. If they're anything like... So, when we did DB Cooper, we actually talked about this.
Yeah.
Man, it is so large.
Yeah.
And it's so vast that if something we didn't know about lived anywhere, it would live there.
Right.
Like, it would, honestly. Well, they say, like, even parts of, like... Okay, right now, there's a guy that killed his girlfriend. And he's hiding in a preserve on the East Coast, which is completely developed. Right? Everybody lives everywhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And they called off the search. They're like, oh,
we can't find him.
Can't find him. Fuck that. Fuck that guy.
Right? Tired climbing hills.
Yeah. So, like, you get out, you know, west. And we talked about this with Area 51. We talked about this with DB Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much land out west that it's hard to fathom. Literally, some of the stuff probably wasn't touched by human hands since Lewis and Clark. And if it wasn't them, maybe centuries before that, if anyone has ever touched it.
Right.
And
I had arguments with this. People about, they're like, all land all over the world's been seen and touched, you know? And it's like, I don't think that's right, you know? It's not. But here's the thing, like, what do you think if, like, because most people aren't going to realize this out there. What do you honest ballpark figure approximately how many new species, like animal, plants, fungus, microorganisms, how many do you think we discover a year?
A lot.
It's 15,000 or better.
Well, I can tell you this.
15,000 new species a year. That's crazy.
In the ocean alone, you know, it's in the thousands.
Oh, yeah.
So then there's also extinct animals. Now, extinct animals don't exist, supposedly.
They make up like 99% of all the life that's ever been on the planet.
Right? Okay. So then you have things like the Tasmanian tiger, which supposedly the last Tasmanian tiger was killed in captivity in like 1930s, right?
Right.
But they still have Tasmanian tiger sightings in Tasmania.
Right.
It's because when settlers moved there, they attacked chickens, they killed them in mass numbers, and supposedly wiped them out. But the truth is, maybe some survived, and that's, Tasmania is a tiny island.
Yeah. They say that 86%. Well, this is what they theorize, that 86% of existing species on the planet have yet to be discovered.
Definitely when you talk about the ocean and when you talk about deep forest. Well,
right.
And I know this in the Amazon.
Well, here's the thing. This is what we're talking about is new primates, right?
New primates is a big deal.
So if we're discovering we're talking about discovering new primates here. Over 25 species of new primates were discovered in the 2000s. 36 in the 2010s. There was 3 new primate, including a great ape discovery in the 2020s.
I mean, like I said, I remember being like 12, going to the zoo and looking at the golden monkey, and they're like, they didn't even know they existed. And a lot of people mistook them for like the abominable snowman.
Mm-hmm.
And here they are, like an animal.
Yeah.
And like they didn't know jaguars existed in Florida. They didn't know there's all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, they didn't even know chimps and bonobos were different species till like the 20s.
Right.
So.
And that, like I said, that area it's giant. It's largely undiscovered. And you get out. So where I live now, I was just on a job today. I went out to do some measurements, and I was in a part of the state that I was like, where the F am I? Where the fuck? Seriously. Like it was very backwoods.
All right.
I just see all these Carolina pines in swampland as far as you can see. Right. And I'm like, whoa, like who goes in there?
Right.
Who's like, I'm going to clear that out and build a house. But they did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they just haven't done that yet in Washington.
Right.
Because it's big. Like, and let me say this: the world's tallest tree, Hyperion, it's like 380 feet.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
They won't even disclose where it's at.
Right. They got more and they won't tell anybody.
Right. They
won't
use
disclose. Like LiDAR to find it, and then they've kept all those areas secret.
So they won't even disclose where it's at.
Right.
And here's what's fucked up: you can't find it.
Right. It's nearly 400 feet tall. You can't find it.
That's how crazy that area of the country is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's.
Should I watch
landmass alone?
Almost every tree that they mentioned in there was protected in that way.
Right, and so just from a topography standpoint, yeah, that's plausible.
Yeah,
and from a species standpoint, like you said, they keep discovering new stuff all the time.
The time. It's so recent, people don't realize how much and how often it happens.
Okay, so there's also something that happened in 1924. and it's called the Ape Canyon Bigfoot attack. And it was a bunch of gold prospectors that were on Mount St. Helen.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, the Native Americans that kind of ran this area,
Mm-hmm.
they had this ritual where they would go hunt. And they would hunt to a certain... I saw the new tribe leader talking about this. And he's like, we would go hunt, and my people would go out, and when they would hunt, they had like sort of like barriers of where they wouldn't go past.
Yeah.
And it was almost like they called them the secretive tribe of giants. And they had a name for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you know what, they're actually really gentle. And they're here to help us. Like, get along with the land.
Yeah.
And they've helped us exist during this whole time. And they would leave them offerings at, like, these boundary points. They would leave them, like, edible roots and berries and things like that. Mm-hmm. And they believed that, you know, these Bigfoot creatures were like protectors,
mm-hmm.
or kind of looked after them, right?
Right.
And, you know, maybe they're on hallucinogenics, but like, it's very consistent with a lot of other tribes that have very, very similar accounts of Bigfoots. Now,
how many of them stories started out with them sitting around a pipe? We don't know. But...
So, fast forward, not the pipe, but maybe a little white lightning. We got some Billies in Oklahoma that are like, we've been chasing Squatch. Which sounds like something you do when you're at a fraternity. And you're like...
And the tax man. We've been chasing Squatch and the tax man.
But they have been chasing Squatch in Oklahoma. And they have a preserve in Oklahoma that's very similar to like Washington. Except it's not as hilly, not as mountainous, obviously. But it is equally vast. And they said there's parts of this that nobody's ever touched. And there's all kinds of Bigfoot sightings. And what they do is they put in like thermal cameras and microphones. And what they found was that like there are giant branches
mm-hmm.
that are pushed down into forks on a tree. And they're either to point or to create like a barrier, or they don't know. They don't know. But it seems like it's some kind of marking by something that's giant.
Yes.
Okay. There's also several other cultures, non-American,
mm-hmm.
that have Bigfoot-related folklore.
Yep.
We talked about doing the Russian hikers in Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that's a Bigfoot type of a creature.
Yeah.
You know,
like a Yeti.
Right. And actually, I saw a really funny cartoon. It was a Yeti, and it's like, what up, cuz? And he, like, puts out his hand, and he's, like, getting ready to give, like, dap to, like, Bigfoot. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yes, they're all very similar.
Yeah, all throughout Asia, they call it a Yeti.
Right. And it's the same thing. It's Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I haven't heard a lot of them in South America or Africa.
No, they got some weird shit going on in South America. Goat sucking dogs and shit.
Chupacabra. We'll do that for sure. I'm writing a movie about the chupacabra as we speak.
All right.
But yes, not a whole lot of Bigfoot though in South America. In Africa, I didn't come across anything. But definitely Asia, definitely parts of Northern Europe, definitely Canada, 100% Canada, definitely Northern United States.
Yes.
And a lot of the West. And
now, if
even
you're talking
Ohio.
Yeah, it's like the skunk ape or something.
In Ohio, there have been some sort of.
Yeah, I've heard of the skunk ape.
Yes.
Which I think is just like a Bigfoot. He does say he stinks.
It just reminds me of Ron Burgundy when he puts the cologne on. Yeah. It smells like Bigfoot's dick.
That's great.
That is great.
Now, here's the thing, though. Most primates that aren't human live in Africa, but there is exceptions to that because orangutans live in Sumatra, Borneo. So,
yeah.
So the great apes have moved out of Africa.
Have. But like the Congo, right? They're talking about like...
The Congo has got all kinds of crazy... Now, if you want big animal discoveries, like big mammals and stuff, they come out of the Congo.
Right.
The Congo's got some deep secrets.
And, honestly, the Amazon does too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Amazon is vastly undiscovered.
Yeah.
But I think...
Yeah, they got fish that'll swim in your pee hole in there. In the Amazon. It's terrible.
No skinny dip in there.
Yeah. Well, just don't pee.
Right.
They're attracted to the ammonia in your urine, and they will swim right up your pee hole. And you cannot get them out without surgery.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
God damn it, right?
And that one's real.
That is real. That's
real.
Not a crypt.
That will happen to you.
But yeah, so plausible to is it like land wise? Yeah, they could exist. And then folklore wise, yeah, they exist a lot of different places. Like a lot of people have these sightings. And then is it possible that there's something that is ape-like and bigger than us? Yeah, that's possible too. There's a lot of animals that are bigger than us.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just an undiscovered animal. But on Mount St. Helens, was there one that talked to...
Maybe even smarter than us. I think because Joe Rogan had a joke about dolphins and how smart they were, that they never got caught on fishermen's hooks. Yeah, and they're like, how smart are dolphins that nobody ever has a story of catching one on a fishing pole. He goes, but if you hung cheeseburgers from hooks, how long would it take before somebody tried it?
Right.
Right. So it's possible, man. They could be smarter than us. Who knows? It's just like on what was the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah, right. I love that movie. But that's totally true. I mean, they've tried to use dolphins in warfare. Mm-hmm. And that's crazy to me. Yeah.
Dolphins help people all the time, but not
get away from sharks.
Like even fishermen fishing on the shore. There's certain regions that they stay on the shore with cast nets and they can't see into the murky water, and the dolphins will swim up and they'll herd the fish, and then they give a visible signal to the fishermen in which way to throw their net, and they throw it and they catch all kinds of fish. And the dolphins don't need it. They don't get any benefit from it. They can catch the fish.
They don't get a commission.
They don't need it. They got sonar. They can detect the fish underwater. That's how they're so good at it. They're like, we eat these by the dozens. Here, you guys want some? And they just help them out, and they don't get really any benefit from it at all.
So, and then we go back to how many species are discovered all the time.
Yeah, and the fact that on this planet there's 500 plus species of primate. That's including 195 subspecies of primate. And most of them, 123 species, are endangered or critically endangered of primates. So you're talking like that orangutan that was recently discovered. It's a new type of orangutan, but it's a different species of orangutan, and they believe there's only like 800 of them in the wild.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what we think. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. Second, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. When people ask you, what do you do for a living? Do you want to be able to tell them I'm a producer? Well, now you can. Go to patreon.com, search everything that's weird, and sign up. We'll list you in all of the show notes and mention you in every episode. Go to patreon.com to get started today. All right, you want to get first on this one, or you want me to get first?
I'll go first.
All right, got it.
First, I got a funny story from work. See, I dig the whole the whole species discovery.
Me too.
And a lot of that stuff I was thrilled to do that stuff because I talk about it all the time, and I talk about at work with other roofers.
First of all, you blew my mind with Foxfire Moss. That that blew my mind. I showed my daughter, my wife, my son.
Yeah, so like when I hear things, like, I get excited about it and I say stuff, but I say stuff like, so I'm working with these guys, and you know how I am. I'm a smart ass. So I give these guys shit. I joke on them, clown on them all the time. You know what I mean? I'm always cracking jokes. I'm always burning them. And so they're always hesitant about stuff. We had a couple new guys at the time. And I looked over at them and I was like, and I was being dead serious because this just happened too. Recently, scientists believe they discovered a new classification of whale.
Yes.
This new big
I
whale.
heard that.
Okay. So when that happened, I was at work and I turned around and I looked at these guys and I said, and it should be noted that some of these guys, if not all the guys I was talking to, their wives or girlfriends are on the bigger size. And I turned to them with all dead seriousness and I said, hey, did you hear they discovered a new species of whale? And everybody stopped, turned, and stared at me, waiting for me to finish my statement. And one dude went to say something, and the other guy put his hand on his chest, and he went, don't. Like I was going to be like, they discovered it at your house, motherfucker. It took me a minute to put it all together. I was like, no, really, that's for real. They did.
There's a funny Verizon commercial where he's like, hey, I need 10 pounds of roast beef. He's like, yeah, I'm all out of roast beef. He's like, would your wife eat it all? And he starts laughing. And the other guy on the other line's laughing, but and he's like, I mean, she's not that big.
So anyway, here's most of my theories on Bigfoot were based off primates and how they act,
right?
Because it's hard for me to believe that there's another creature on this planet that has the mental capacity that we do. Because even with your smart animals like elephants and dolphins, and they got like the millions of neurons going. It's like this huge count of neurons going. It's like 11 million, but we got like twice that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to think that there's something close to that for me. So I always base my theories off of like primate action, which to me, primates, everything I've ever read with, there's not a lot of solo primates. Primates aren't like nomads or wanderers. You know, they live in family groups. I mean,
right.
Some huge family groups. Some of them are monstrously huge. So it's like for me, it's like I would think that would still be something that would be discovered. It wouldn't be like they would be so good at hiding because they knew to hide. They knew how smart to hide, you know? Because it's a smart way to hide when people are looking for you.
Well, can I just say, maybe they're not.
Most animal discoveries aren't made because somebody's looking for you.
Okay, well, like the megamouth shark,
mm-hmm.
for years, they're like, hey, man, there's a shark that its mouth glows,
mm-hmm.
and it lives really deep. And everybody's like, no, rah, 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 Bigfoot, rah, 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 Loch Ness, rah, rah, rah. And then they caught a megamouth shark.
Right.
And I get that the ocean is, you know...
Yeah, the ocean's a different story.
Much more undiscovered than Earth. However, we're talking about very remote places.
Yeah.
So maybe they aren't hiding. It's just maybe they're way out where there's people.
Yeah, just... I feel like it would still react like an animal would, and that like if it was, it's like almost every other animal. It's not every animal. There are exceptions, but usually if something's discovered, it's then studied because they already discovered it. They found it. They know where it lives. You know, they know where to get it. They know where to go back to. And it seems like even if Bigfoot's sighted 1 million times, nobody can go back and find him again.
Okay.
To me, it doesn't sound like an animal. Would have to sound like an intelligent person. And even humans aren't that nomadic. I mean, you got exceptions, but we still live around each other and we make big families and we hang out.
So the story said that they've been here forever.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to be left alone. We've known they've existed, and it won't be a big deal in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
What if all that's true? What if all that is true? What if they really didn't want to be, you know?
So here's my theory on the whole thing: is that I am always going to leave it wide open to say that it's possible, because to me it is, with all the stuff that I said. You know, to me it's completely possible.
Mm-hmm.
And this planet has, out of the great apes, there's 8 total great apes on this planet. So could there be 9? Yeah, I mean that's a low number to stick in a big planet. So
what's the biggest of all of the apes?
You'd be your gorillas.
So, but they're not anywhere close to a Bigfoot size.
Not as far as height goes.
Right.
They probably got more mass or girth, though. I mean, male gorillas get huge, 800 pounds. So they could probably be more massive than a Bigfoot, just not as tall. But they're not bipedal either, so that would change how your bone structure grows and all that stuff. If you're walking upright, that's a different story,
Okay, so with regards to Mt St. Helen,
total bullshit. I think the whole story is bullshit. I think it was some guy that just wrote into a website to get his account famous or something like that, or whatever the fuck, or just to say it. I think it's just such a far-fetched story that he was like speaking to it and all this crap. And it just, to me, it sounds like complete bullshit. Now, if I eliminate the Mount St. Helen story, do I believe it's possible that there's Bigfoots? Yes, I believe it's possible that there's Bigfoots. Do I believe they exist? I have to see it. You know, I have to get somebody to give me that hard evidence. Now, did I believe them when they said that there were giant squids and colossal squids? Like, I was like, yeah, it's possible because it's the ocean, you know. But I was still like, I don't know. Maybe you're just reaching.
But
all they had was suction
right?
cups and scars on.
Like there's been Chinese
yep,
vessels.
They got them. They proved it. They've caught both.
Right.
They've gotten on camera.
And they're super
Chinese
smart.
Vessel caught one. They got remains of one in the Smithsonian now. So, but that's the ocean.
So you're saying from a cryptozoology standpoint, where undiscovered animals are studied, it's plausible that there's something like a Bigfoot. Was it put on the back of a Nissan pickup truck, driven around the mountain to find other Bigfoots? And when it did, it kind of gave the nod to shoot. And then it was
crazy story.
Then taken away by helicopter.
Right. So crazy, not buying it. But I do leave the door open for Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I'm sort of with you. Now, one thing I will say about this is that this story about these gold prospectors having an actual fight with the Bigfoot in 1924 on Mt St. Helen in what they called Ape Canyon.
Yeah. Hey, you know the Harry Truman guy you were talking about earlier? He was a bootlegger. He was also a bootlegger and a prospector at one point.
So, right around this time, there was also an increase of sightings.
Yeah.
In a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And I am actually with you. I think Bigfoot, Loch Ness, Tasmanian tiger, things like that probably exist. But like, you know, we just lack the technology or will or resources to go look for them. Now, one thing I do like the idea of, and I hope it's true from a childhood standpoint, is that the government looks out for species that
just the Corps of Engineers, man.
You know, you guys, hey guys, you get it. They exist. They're just trying to hang. They're just trying to be buds. You know?
It's because it's the only fucking division of the the government that uses calculators instead of rifles.
Right. And a big part of me wants to believe that part of it, but yeah, it's hard to sort of physical evidence that it's not true. But I will say the story is really good. It's a really good story.
It is a great story.
And like if there was some kind of creature with advanced language skills and thinking process, and it just got hit by a volcanic eruption, it would be rattled and they would be looking for his friends. But again, a volcanic eruption is violent, and like literally nothing else lived.
Yeah, nothing.
Literally nothing, because not just because of like pyroclastic flow, lava, but like more carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
You know, it just sort of wiped everything out.
In total, Mount St. Helens released up to 24 megaton thermal energy. So that's like 1,600 times the atomic bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima.
Crazy. So it's hard for me to realistically think anything lived through that.
Right.
Except that lady on the other side of the mountain, because it blew out the one side.
Yeah, well, it tells you. It tells you. What it does is it shows you exactly how vast that area is.
Yeah.
If 50, what was it? 57 people died or something. It was just over 50 people died.
Yeah, right.
50 people died, and it was 1,600 times the size of the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima.
Right, and I'm with you. I leave a place open for Bigfoot because I do think Bigfoot, or some explanation of Bigfoot, is plausible. Like, maybe it's some kind of ape we don't know about.
It could be another great ape that we haven't discovered yet.
Yeah, and they get like deeper and deeper in the wilderness the farther people get. And it's not like they haven't been, like, Mitch Hedberg has a joke about it. He's like, people keep saying there's no Bigfoot because Bigfoot pictures are always blurry. He's like, maybe Bigfoot just is blurry.
Yeah. He's just a blurry dude.
But like, it's not that he doesn't go undiscovered, because there's Discovery Channel, there's History Channel, there's all kinds of people that do nothing but hunt the Squatch.
They know how to call it and everything.
Right. But I do think it's probably not true.
Yeah.
It's a great story. It's an unbelievable tale. But
it'd make a good movie if you could even have the soldier like try and find where they took him to, and he goes and lives with them.
But why did Bigfoot live? And like, literally the guy taking pictures,
like, everybody died.
Everybody died. Everything died.
Everything died around it.
Trees, deer,
total devastation. They lost all. It was like most of the life in that. Like, there's some crazy numbers, like 1,500 elk, 5,000 deer, 20. It was like 12 million salmon.
Right.
It said it 25% of the. They're just crazy numbers on the whole thing. You look at it, it's incredible.
Yeah, sheep, bear, and now that land's starting to get reclaimed. But this is how remote it is. There was a lake that was formed after the eruption from melted glacier, basically, that had accumulated over the years on Mount St. Helen. And the lava and the heat and the steam off of the snow-covered bank of Mount St. Helen melted all this ice instantly.
Yeah.
And it created this crazy lake, right? Well, for like the last 25 years, there have been no fish. And they just saw like several fish in this like lake pond or whatever. And they can attribute it to maybe like birds that eat seeds that drop it, in the pond or whatever. But that's how long it's taken for that area to come back.
Yeah.
So
because it's any lake that forms up in the mountain is going to have runoff, and then when that runoff forms a stream, fish is going to swim back up to spawn. So it's not.
And but this has been 20 years, and they're just now seeing fish.
Right. It took a long time.
Literally everything was wiped off the mountain. I'm going to say it's an awesome story, but it's not true. And I want it to be true. I want there to be like.
I want to see the movie.
Right. I want the TV actor Bigfoot to be like, kill him. That guy.
Give him the fucking slice across the throat.
Not him. He's not gonna make it. And then he's like,
but
get to the chopper.
Like,
right.
I'm fine. I can get up.
Yeah, let's get to the chopper. Why don't we head to Vancouver? have a couple martinis, and maybe I'll feel better. I don't think it happened.
I like how they said they had like a triage. They had like bandages on their arms and stuff. Like, that's crazy.
So I think we're doubtful.
Yeah, I think this is total BS.
It's an awesome story, though.
It is. I like I said, I want to see the movie version.
I think it's a killer sci-fi flick.
Right.
Where, like, you know, it's a war zone after this happens. You do a bunch of news clips so you don't have to actually reenact it.
Right.
For budget concerns.
Right.
And then you have, like, that. You see if you can rent the Harry and the Hendersons costume from MGM.
And two of those thumbs.
But, yeah.
All right. I'm calling it too. Bullshit.
I'm calling it doubtful. I'm Anthony.
I'm Brandon.
And this is Everything That's Weird.